Just days after a jury found Derek Chauvin guilty of killing George Floyd, mourners in Minneapolis said their final goodbye to 20-year-old Daunte Wright. Wright was killed during a traffic stop this month when former police officer Kim Potter allegedly mistook her gun for a taser. Potter has since resigned and is charged with second-degree manslaughter. And Jamie Yuccas has the latest from Minneapolis.
Daunte Wright's parents, family, and friends shared their grief with the community Thursday.
I never imagined that I'd be standing here. The roles should completely be reversed. My son should be burying me. He was loved by so many. He's going to be so missed.
Words can't even explain how I feel right now. You know, that was my son.
They were joined by Breonna Taylor's boyfriend, as well as the families of George Floyd and Philando Castile, who was also shot to death during a traffic stop by a Minnesota police officer. The Reverend Al Sharpton gave the eulogy.
He was a prince, and all of Minneapolis has stopped today to honor the Prince of Brooklyn Center.
Civil rights attorney Ben Crump represents both George Floyd's and Daunte Wright's families.
Traffic stops end up as deadly sentences, a death sentence. There comes a time when one must take a position because your conscience tells you it is the right thing to do. It is the right thing to do to stand up for our children.
His call to action is being heard. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar and Senator Amy Klobuchar are pushing senators to pass a federal law that would ban chokeholds and make it easier to prosecute police officers.
True justice is not done as long as Black Americans are killed by law enforcement at more than twice the rate of white Americans.
In the name of Daunte, we're going to pass the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act as federal law.
So Jamie Yuccas is joining us now live from Minneapolis. Jamie, how is this community healing after, the events this past week?
I feel like, Anne-Marie, the best way to describe it is it's been an emotional roller coaster. I think what you saw on Tuesday when the verdict came in is a celebration. People were very happy about the verdict. You saw them. It was almost, somebody described it to me who was around the government center, as it seemed like the Minnesota Twins had just won the World Series. And a lot of people, even if they didn't necessarily agree with everything that's happened, they were happy to see that the situation here in Minneapolis remained calm and that there wasn't unrest and there wasn't rioting. There weren't these unruly protests that happened. But then it really felt like the last couple of days, being downtown, it almost seemed like a federal holiday. There was no one downtown. Everyone kind of was quiet. I checked in on some of my friends and family members. They almost said it was like they had a kind of hangover, that they were just going to remain quiet, be reflective, kind of sit through some of the emotion. And then you had the Daunte Wright funeral yesterday, which was extremely emotional. So I think everybody's just kind of looking at what's happened, what's transpired here. Of course, you're going to have the sentencing of Derek Chauvin in about 7.5 weeks now that we're going to have to come back for and look at and see what happens in that. Of course, prosecutors going to ask for more time. We'll see how much time he actually gets. That could have an impact on the community. And then you have the other 3 officers later this summer who will face trial. So I think the community is looking at this. It's a reflective time, but there's still a lot more work to do, and there's more that will come up. This isn't over yet.
And then we have the police officer involved in Daunte's death, former police officer Kim Potter. She's been charged with second-degree manslaughter. What else can you tell us about her case? Is an investigation still ongoing? Could more charges be brought against her?
Well, I can tell you just yesterday, as he was being laid to rest, there were a number of peaceful protesters who showed up at the prosecution's house demanding murder charges. Of course, you saw Derek Chauvin face second-degree and third-degree murder. In this case, Kim Potter faces a manslaughter charge. So protesters asking for tougher charges to be filed. She, of course, has said it was an accident shooting Daunte Wright, that she meant to pull her taser instead of her gun. But she did pull her gun, and she shot and she killed this young young man. So a lot of protesters saying that the charges need to be upped. Of course, here in the state of Minnesota, we've now had 2 police officers convicted on third-degree murder charges. So people wanting to see at least that murder charge brought to the table. But the prosecution in this case has said, no, I've looked at it. I'm sticking with the manslaughter charge. So we'll see how this plays out. Of course, there could be a lot of pressure put on him. This is just within the first couple of weeks, and she will be back in court in a few weeks. So we'll see kind of how this ends up playing out. But for now, people are really wanting to demand tougher charges. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, well, we're all watching. Jamie, thank you very much.